Unsolicited advice.
What you whispering for? Yo, what's unsolicited advice? Take it or leave it.
Mental health. Please stop using mental health as an excuse for y'all being some ass, fake ass, crab ass motherfuckers, some losers. You know what it is? It's the alcohol. It's the perks. It's the cocaine. It's the Molly. You motherfuckers go out here and do all of these drugs and drink all of this liquor and then talk about it's your mental health. No, stay off the drugs. It's the drugs. It's the drugs. It's the drugs. I grew up in an era where niggas couldn't even get shot. It was like, damn, man, niggas get shot every day, B. Now you bitch ass nigga trip over a fucking rock and want to kill yourself. I hate you.
So earlier I talked about mental health excuses, people making excuses for their mental health or thinking that it's okay to project their emotions and their erratic behavior towards people and using their mental health as an excuse. Another thing I want to talk about are the people that don't necessarily have a mental health diagnosis, but just people that have what I like to call misplaced attitudes. And this runs rapid in a lot of places. And I mentioned this in my last video where we have a lot of people nowadays that they have a habit of taking it out on people that don't deserve it, or always taking it out on the people that are always around. The people that actually care about them, the people that are always around. We as human beings are creatures of habits when it comes to that. We always take it out on the people that care the most. We never take it out on the people that are responsible. So, people can have misplaced attitudes, but there's a variety of factors, like personal experiences, underlying mental health conditions, lack of self-awareness, social influence, stress, cognitive bias, a desire to project certain images to others, judging, things like that, leading them to express attitude that don't align with their true feelings or the situation at hand. One of the main reasons that people have misplaced attitudes is past trauma. Past trauma is it's almost like a shield, that people, coat or engulf themselves in. It's like this just invisible shield where it's like, oh, that was a past trauma, so now I'm going to have an attitude because it's triggering. Any type of negative experience, it's like unresolved. So it leads to it leads to the person being very pessimistic, or overly defensive attitude, just out of nowhere. I could do something. I could just look like let's just take an example. I could look like somebody's ex, right? Let's just say I'm just out and about and I'm talking to a girl. Maybe I'm just there and I'm casually trying to get to know her, and she's intrigued by me, but she also notices that I look like her ex. So, we're just having a regular conversation. Then all of a sudden, my conversation starts to sound like her ex. Oh, this is all the things he used to say to me, all the good things he used to say to me. Oh, this guy thinks he's slick. So now that shield starts to form. It's almost like a automatic thing. It's like being on autopilot. It just automatically comes on. So now the defenses come out because there's certain triggers there. Like I said, I look like her ex. So she was somewhat attracted to me because I look like her type. And I look like someone she used to date. Also, I'm talking in a way that reminded her of the good times with her ex. So even though it sounds good, it's also triggering something to say, oh, well, hold on. This is how I got tricked the last time. So now the misplaced attitude comes out. So now she's going to start asking condescending questions, just so it can, target me as a bad person. Oh, well, you probably got a bunch of girls, or you probably got a bunch of hoes. Oh, are you abusive? My ex, you look just like my ex. He used to be abusive. You know, oh, well, oh, you dress nice. Do you do this for everybody or just me? Just start saying little condescending things. Then, if you have any type of retort, or let's just say you feel disrespected by the way she's coming at you and you try to address it, now the misplaced attitude comes out. Excuse me, like nowadays they like to say sassy. If you try to defend yourself, or you try to, have a retort, or try to just get somebody right, as they like to say, put somebody in their place. Like, hold on, they like to call men sassy. So this is where a lot of misplaced attitude comes. That's just one example. Another example is somebody just having a bad day, coming into work, and you could just tell they're projecting it on everybody. Everywhere they go, you can always tell when somebody has a bad attitude, because everybody else huddles up and says, something's wrong with such and such. Why? Dang, they acted different today. Oh, they caught an attitude with me when they came in. Oh yeah, when I came in, they got mad because I put my stuff on on the top shelf of the refrigerator where they normally put theirs, and they checked me about it. They got upset. It's like, you can always tell when somebody's having a bad day, because that's when the misplaced attitude usually comes out. They're just mad. They're in a bad mood. It's just one of those things. So there's a lot of scenarios you can use, but misplaced attitudes are one of those things that probably could be it's my biggest pet peeve, but it's the most irritating thing a person can have to deal with. Oh, man. And like in my last video, another thing that we'll have to address is, mental health conditions. Mental health conditions are definitely a factor in this, because, like I said, somebody's probably dealt with past trauma or a negative experience. So this coincides with mental health conditions. So you have anxiety, you have depression, you have some people have that bipolar disorder, all kinds of different mental health issues. So that can impact it too. They don't know how to process things very well. So everything just comes out how it comes out. And then they might apologize a week later, 2-3 days later, after they realize they put everything together and say, okay, I might have not did that the right way. Because most people, when they're doing misplaced behavior, they're very self-righteous in this moment. They feel entitled and justified in their actions. And it takes a minute before they realize, man, why was I being mean to them? They didn't do anything to me. Dang, I might have messed up pretty bad. It takes a minute. But, it's like a defense mechanism for them. They want to protect themselves from more and more trauma and damage. We're bad about that. As human beings, we can be very bad about that. Instead of trying to get better, we project, and we use things as defense mechanisms to protect our feelings and protect our emotions and protect our mental. Another way that people have misplaced attitudes is unrealistic expectations. So, and this is another pet peeve of mine, something that I just cannot stand. You always have certain people that they only can handle things if you do it their way. It has to be their way, or they will project such an attitude towards you. You're not cleaning something the way that they would clean. You're not handling something the way that they would handle it. You're not moving as fast as they would move. There's so many different ways that projects a misplaced attitude, because it's a preference. They have such a high preference for how they want things done, how they would react to things. It's such a high preference that it brings out that misplaced behavior, that misplaced attitude. They set such a unrealistic standard for themselves that they expect everybody else to fall in line with it, because they can't handle it any other way. They can't handle it any other way. So it leads to the frustration, and it leads to that negative, misplaced attitude, because their expectations aren't met. it's one thing to have expectations, but you also have to display some type of or some level of grace. Just because I like things a certain way, they're not me. They're not me. So I have to always remind myself that they're not me. And you need to understand effort versus expectations. Expectations are a preference, but you can't expect everybody to meet your expectations. But you can expect someone to give their best effort. That's what it's mostly about. The fact that they're giving effort and they're trying to please. That means more to me than somebody meeting an expectation, because it's very hard. Meeting an expectation is the same level of perfection, and perfection is a hard thing. So we have to remember that when we're catching an attitude with somebody that doesn't understand your level of perfection, your level of expectations, and even if they do, sometimes it's an unattainable thing. It's unreachable. Um, Another thing is social influences. Social influences, of course, like your peers, just things that you see. So you observe, things that you're observing and imitating, around, you know, around other people in a way. So you're adopting a similar attitude, even if, you don't fully agree. So you call these people like followers. So if they see somebody else doing it, they start doing it too, because it's like, oh, I this is my friend. Is this so? Yeah, I'm gonna have an attitude too. If they mad, I'm mad. It's thing about misplaced behaviors is people don't understand how magnetic it can be, because now you're giving other people, you're giving them the power to do the same thing, and it has to be cut off at a certain point. And you have to remember that you can't just it's just the way that we project. It's such a it's the attitudes of the people around them. It makes other individuals adopt that similar style. Like, oh man, look, they don't take no shit. Oh, look at that attitude. I got to do that too. I got to start taking up for myself in that way too. Look at how people leave that person alone because of that attitude. I'm gonna do that too. It'll leave me alone. It's so magnetic and so intoxicating to the weak-minded people. It's intoxicating, and they start developing that same attitude, and it's just like crabs in a barrel. It's like leeches. It's the worst. Cognitive distortion. And I know I'm using big words like I'm smart. I ain't that smart, but I do, I understand certain things, but cognitive distortion, so it's like a mental pattern, and it leads to misinterpretations of situations. So, it's like assuming the worst and taking things personally. Like we do this a lot with text messages, and if you know, you know. Well, we do this a lot with text messages where somebody will take just the smallest thing the wrong way. They'll misinterpret. So, a lot of time I used to joke, I always just used to tell people I make sure I put LOL behind the sentence just so people won't take it personally or just assume I have an attitude just because of how I respond to something on a text message. So, it's sometimes mentally we distort the message. We pervert the message and we try to make it seem like, oh no, that person meant that they're having an attitude with me. Oh no, what's wrong with them? Why they say it like that? I notice a lot of women do this to other women in a way. A lot of times they don't even know why they're mad at another woman, but I notice that they'll do this. They'll have a cognitive distortion, and it's almost like a mental block where they can just randomly not like a woman, don't know why they don't like a woman, and they'll take the littlest thing And as soon as that woman walks away, they'll look at another female or another person and say, you see how they, you see how they was talking to me? Oh, I don't like her. Oh, they got attitude. That person didn't even have an attitude, that person. You already mentally have prepared yourself to think that this person doesn't like you, or that this person is intentionally trying to sabotage you or hurt you or be mean to you. And so you already prepare your brain. So anytime this person comes around, does not matter what they do, you always are going to see it in a different light. And we have, that's probably, that might be number one. We got to stop doing that because it makes us look stupid. It makes us look real stupid, like we don't know how to separate the two. Like you don't know this person all of a sudden. Oh, now you don't know me. Now I'm an asshole. Or now, I'm being a bitch, or I'm being, a jerk or whatever. Now you don't know me. Now any little thing I say, you're taking it personal. You're thinking the worst. It's irritating, very irritating and time consuming to trying to explain that. Because now as an adult, it's like, man, I ain't got to explain myself. I didn't mean anything, but I digress. Another thing with misplaced behaviors is lack of self-awareness. Oh my God. Like everybody else, like you can literally tell somebody something and it's like, no, they're not aware of how their attitude is perceived. They just think that somebody is weak, or like you said, if I correct a woman for having an attitude with me, nowadays that's deemed as being sassy. Oh, you're not a man, you can't handle it. You just can't handle it. You're not a man, you're just a little boy. You just can't handle it. You don't know how to handle me. You don't know how to deal with me. So, it's a mismatch between intended demeanor and how it comes across. So yeah, that person might not mean for it to come across. Like some people don't know how to fix their face. Some people just have a face and it looks like they have an attitude, or it looks like they're pissed off. The way people talk, they might just be talking regularly, no problem at all, but the way it sounds, it's going to sound like they have an attitude. So sometimes you just need to understand that. And sometimes you have to preference your comments before you even start and say, oh, look, I'm not mad, I'm not upset. It may look like it, but I'm not. I promise you. And you just let people know, oh, that's just how I talk. I don't want you to think that I have an attitude. It's just how it comes out. I don't know why, but that's just how it sounds to people. Sometimes it's okay. You can give people, a disclaimer before you even start. But that is a big thing. That's something that we all have to work on in a way. Even me. Some people ask me all the time, how come I don't smile? And it's like, I don't know, I just don't. And it's just a thing of mine. They think that, that I might be mean or I might be intimidating. It's like, no, I'm not. If anybody knows me, they know I'm not that type of person at all. But sometimes you just have to have a conversation with people and just to let them know who you are. And I missed this one, but I should have started off with this because this is usually the number one reason for misplaced attitudes, but usually just stress and fatigue. Some people go and go and go, and they don't give themselves time to heal, time to rest, to get enough sleep, to just, as we like to say nowadays, to have a mental health day or, a mental health break. But when someone is under significant stress or physically exhausted, their patience and mood can be very, very, very thin and easily affected, so they're more irritable and that negative attitude will come out. Like, you don't know, you done woke up, you having a great day, you done had your coffee, you had a great breakfast, you just cheery, and then in their mind, it's like, fuck you happy about? Why you doing all this giggling and sniggling? Like, ain't nothing happy around here. I'm not doing good. They haven't had to sleep. They haven't had any time to themselves, I'm sure anybody with kids, same thing, you're dealing with kids, you've been up all night, they got a fever, you're just tired. It's just one of those days, for men, you're just constantly going through life's progressions. You're tired. You've been busting your butt trying to provide, trying to be a man every day, trying to do everything that you're supposed to do. And you can come off and have a real bad attitude and not realize it because you just haven't had time for a break. Women, same thing, like I said earlier, you're always going to be connected to children. So a lot of them have to deal with taking care of their kids, not having time for themselves, giving their times to their kids, a lot of them have to deal with their menstrual cycle, and some of them have happy ones, and some of them have a real, hard time dealing with having one. It's harder on some than it is on others. So that can come off the wrong way, when they just want to be left alone and they just want to get through it. And like I said, past trauma, losing a loved one, just having a bad day, and that causes a lot of stress and fatigue. But I just wanted to talk about this today because it takes a whole lot of energy to have a bad attitude. It takes a lot more energy than to be positive or be self-aware. The number one thing is that you want to be self-aware. You want to know what's going on with yourself and that you're doing it. Because you're going to have an attitude trying to explain that you're not when everybody else can see it. So always remember to just give a little grace, or just maybe even just a disclaimer. Let somebody know that I'm just having a bad day today. So if it just seems that I'm distant, or if it just seems that, I'm being mean or whatever, I'll probably just need a minute. Just give me a minute, give me a chance to get myself together, and I apologize ahead of time. Trust me, that works wonders. Letting somebody, call, text somebody, let them know. Before you get off work, call your loved one, whoever you live with, whoever your honey is or whatever. Just be like, hey, man, today was a bad day. So if I come home and it just looks like I'm having a bad attitude, that's why. I'm sorry. I hope I don't do it, but I just want to let you know ahead of time, or hey, can you get the kids? Can you get them together? It's been a long day. And I just need to come in and, and just, get some rest. I'm so tired. It's good to, communication. Let somebody know what's going on with you. That usually helps. But as always, that's my unsolicited advice. You can take it or leave it.